Welcome to Modernization with Microsoft Services, covering unsupported legacy systems. In this presentation, we'll cover an introduction, what end of support means, compliance concerns, extended security updates, and finally, next steps. Introduction. Various business events trigger opportunities to modernize. In this particular conversation, we're going to discuss unsupported legacy systems. Without software updates, businesses can become vulnerable to cybersecurity threats, might not meet regulatory requirements, and might be out of compliance in general. Here are example migration strategy ratios. In this case, again, we're going to be talking about unsupported legacy systems, so we'll focus there. Typically, when we're looking at unsupported legacy systems, it's going to be primarily cloud optimized and some app modernization. You'll notice that lift and shift is not in consideration because that does not solve the issue of an unsupported legacy OS or other aspect. What is end of support? End of support is a term used with respect to a product supplied to customers, indicating when that product's at the end of its useful life, and a vendor stops marketing, selling, or reworks sustaining it. This means that, for example, patches are not supplied for that application. There are no hot fixes being supplied. There's no other fixes to the application. So in this type of situation, if you're a customer using that particular piece of software, it means you're not able to get support, not able to have resolution if you have problems that require the application to be fixed, and you're not getting the latest security updates that protect you from threats. How Microsoft services can help. We can upgrade operating systems and applications to remain on-premises, migrate to Azure, or modernize while they're already in Azure. So some examples of these, databases, we can move off legacy database platforms. So SQL Server, Oracle, Sybase, we're not just limited to SQL Server platforms, we can also do third-party database platforms. We can perform migration of servers. So this actually falls into a lift and shift type of situation. So for SQL, Windows Server 2008 or 2008 R2, that can't be workload migrated prior to end of support. So something that can't be upgraded from OS standpoint, either the timeline's too long or there's too much testing required before it hits that date. We do have the option of just taking that and moving that up to Azure. For legacy workloads, we can rehost workloads on legacy Windows servers and Linux open source software to modern operating systems. So this is changing the OS while moving the applications and the data up to that newer version of the OS, which is a supported operating system that hasn't hit end of support. Source code remediation. So we can do remediation of custom application package source code for compatibility with a modern operating system. And in our situation, we define a modern operating system to be Windows Server 2012 and above, and for Linux, any edition that's endorsed for use on Azure. And then finally, we have Azure workloads. We can upgrade SQL Server databases 2008, 2008 R2, used with SAP. Getting off unsupported legacy systems is a great way to avoid business risk. If you're running these unsupported legacy systems, you're not going to be getting security updates. You're likely to have compliance concerns, and you're not going to be receiving support for those systems, all difficult to accept in an enterprise business environment. Here's an overview of our server product lifecycle. From product release, you have 5 years of mainstream support. During that time, you're receiving new features, security updates, as well as non-security updates. After the 5 years, you move into extended support, which is for 5 additional years. During this time, security updates and non-security updates are being issued for that particular product. What end of support means for the end of security updates. For SQL Server 2008 and 2008 R2, extended support ends July 9th, 2019. And for Windows Server 2008 and 2008 R2, extended support ends January 14th, 2020. Another good reason to get off of legacy unsupported operating systems or other products is to avoid GDPR compliance issues, penalties, and fines. Critical security updates are key to maintaining compliance. New requirements were issued May 25th, 2018, and there are other regulations, as you can see here, such as HIPAA, SOX, ISO, PCI, FedRAMP, GLBA, that all may apply in terms of needing to require an operating system to be up to date or other server product. SQL Server 2008, 2008 R2 compliance concerns. SQL Server 2008, 2008 R2 do not have all the features customers might need to comply with GDPR and other important regulations, such as row-level security, always encrypted, or dynamic data masking. There's a guide to enhancing privacy and addressing GDPR requirements with the Microsoft SQL Server platform available at the URL on this slide. Extended security updates. New options are now available to help you upgrade and adopt the innovative technologies you need to carry your organization into the future. If you need additional time to manage the transition, get 3 years of extended security updates to keep your workloads protected beyond the deadline. This applies to Windows Server and SQL Server 2008 and 2008 R2. Extended security updates. Paths to upgrade and stay protected. Migrate to Azure. Migrating applications to Azure VMs gets you free extended security updates for Windows Server 2008 and 2008 R2 for 3 years after the deadline. Migrating data to Azure Managed Instances or VMs, so things like Azure SQL Database Managed Instance, offers a version-free option, so removes the dependency on that legacy software and versions that have the end of support stipulations. And you can also get free extended security updates for SQL Server 2008 and 2008 R2 in Azure VMs for 3 years after the deadline. And then finally, you can optimize or modernize when ready. So optimize, upgrade in Azure when ready, use Azure services, or modernize and transform the apps. Another set of options is to upgrade on premises. So you can upgrade to the latest version, Windows Server 2016 or 2019 or SQL Server 2017. Or if you can't meet the deadline, you can protect the server workloads by buying extended security updates to get 3 more years of security updates for Windows Server and SQL Server 2008, 2008 R2, and that allows you to upgrade when ready within that timeline. There are a few notes. So the offer on the Azure VMs for the free extended support does not apply to VMs on Azure Stack, and doesn't apply to SQL Server 2005 or Windows Server 2003 or older versions. This is entirely focused on 2008 and 2008 R2 Windows Server and SQL Server products. Next steps. If you have unsupported legacy system concerns and you're ready to take the next step to a modern enterprise, we can get you started today. To learn more, consult with your account team. And for more information, please visit the URL on this page. Thank you.